Okay.
Okay, you want to talk about houses? Let's talk about houses.
I actually have a good starting point, I think. All
Thank
right,
God.
so I want to talk about your background. Uh,
My background.
yes,
Like this?
that
Like the things.
background, like the physical background, the things that
All
are
right.
behind you. So
Yeah.
tell me more. You have like a whole bunch of boxes labeled 01 to
Mm.
3. What the hell is that?
Well, this is a fragment of my life. I'm currently living in my parents-in-law's home, in their, standalone home out here in Kofu, Yamanashi. Some people would call it inaka or like the outskirts in the boonies. But I really like it. I mean, not here. It's tough to live here in this particular house, but this is like a middle step before we move into our home that we've been
Yeah.
building for, I think, a couple of months now and designing for longer. And yeah, it's been quite an adventure, I have to say.
Yeah, and obviously the fact that you haven't unpacked means that, well, you've just mentioned that you built a house, but also you've moved in just recently, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, we've unpacked the essentials, but this is like a one family home, and we basically moved our family into this one family home. So we're taking up half the space. They've kind of done their best to like lower the amount of things that they have around the house, and we've also thrown half of the things around our house before moving here. Um, it's completely unnecessary, but we did that so that we could kind of have my wife's family's support as my son was just born, and the house that we're building is right kind of close by. So I'm monitoring the construction process very diligently,
From your
and
window.
from I can't see it from my window, but it is about like a 80-meter walk. So I go see the carpenter every day. Maybe the most shocking thing about building a house in Japan is you might expect that this would be like a massive team building it, but there's literally one carpenter who is putting it together. There's one guy every day,
But you
and I
are,
see him.
yeah, you are building it through a company, right? It's a construction company, is it?
Yeah, so in Japan, there are many types of houses and apartments. There are these things called mansions, which aren't really mansions in the Western sense, but are like houses that are like glued together. Maybe like townhouses would be like a close approximation, but with multiple stories. Whereas townhouses in like UK or whatever is usually like two stories or like just a house standing next to each other. And essentially, you can rent or you can own. But if you own, you generally have to like buy used. And in Japan, buying used is not really kind of,
A
I don't
thing.
know, it's not
Yeah,
really their style. They
yeah.
prefer to like make things new because probably there's a lot of earthquakes, a lot of things break. So usually there's a lot of opportunities to build something new. Um, there are there's like a really long history of like how this all came to be in terms of like how Japanese houses are made. But essentially, I think after World War II, there wasn't enough like housing. So these companies called jutaku makers or like house makers basically came into existence because they would like get the resources. They would be like the middleman between the construction companies and the customers, and then they would talk to the customers, figure out what they wanted, create some like templated housing, and then quickly build them so that people could like live in those houses. There's like a spectrum of those companies, like a whole range of
Right.
like luxury end and like dirt cheap and made of plywood and looks really fake kind of housing, but it's still a house. And yeah, like we did the unique decision of going with one of the house makers called Sumitomo Ringyo, which is basically Sumitomo Forestry, and their niche is making houses out of wood and like using a lot of like
Natural
natural
materials.
wooden,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was a long process to come to this decision, and we can go into all the details, whatever you want to know. but it has been really kind of insightful because the way that houses are built in Japan feels so different from basically anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think it's a really it's a unique experience.
What do you reckon is the main difference? Like, if you were to build a house in um, anywhere else, right?
I looked at like my friend's architectural drawings for his house, and I really felt like the size and the shape of the house could be anything.
And your
Like the length of the
friend,
room.
just for the context, like in what country?
He's in Australia.
Ah, he's in Australia. Okay.
Yeah. So I saw his architectural drawings, and they look very different from the ones I saw here. Uh, just to start, like the outer walls of when you decide on like the shape of a house or the shape of a wall, it's just like meters, right? Like
Mm.
all of us, we work in meters or feet. But if you're working in those units of measurement, you can make a wall 3 meters by by 2 meters, or you can make it 3 by 3. But in Japan, there's this concept called jo and tsubo, which are these preset sizes of a tatami mat,
The time
which
mats.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think you just gotta have to look at it. But they're laid out in rooms, and the tatami mat is like 180 by 90 centimeters, and so that's the unit of measurement for everything.
Yeah, that's an interesting reference because you are sitting in a washitsu, right? At the moment, it's
Yeah, I think it's hard to see from the camera angle, but like
yeah.
I'm in a tatami room. The mats should be replaced, but they're, you know, quite strongly yellow after
Mm.
many years of use. Originally, I think they're a little bit green, but essentially everything is dictated by those kind of shapes. The hallway, it's also 90, generally like 90 centimeters wide. You can make it a little wider, you can make it a little narrower, but the standard size and shape is dictated by those kind of tsubo or
Mm.
Joe measurements. And because of that, there's a lot of interesting like advantages and disadvantages. Um, One of the advantages is the room shape is kind of nice, I have to say. Like there's no strange rooms. You could easily make them, but when you design a room with like fixed rectangular kind of unit-based
Right, they're all
proportions,
rectangular. Yeah.
they're kind of like a normal rectangular shape.
Yeah.
Of course, this can be exacerbated. Like you could take, do like a, I don't know how to say it, like 4 Jo by like half, I don't know, by 2 Jo room. You can make like a weird long room, which is something you can see in Tokyo. But like if you're building a house, you don't need to do that, and you can
Mm.
avoid the weird kind of shapes. Um, and then how do I say, like as a customer, as a person buying a custom house, it's really difficult to know what is a good size or a shape. So like, how would you decide if you're like, oh, like what kind of room size do you want? You're like, well, I want the 2.84-meter room width, 100%. Uh, it's kind of hard to work with those numbers. So instead, you have like, oh, like I think this like 3 Jo room is a good size, and then you can kind of guess like how much space you have for everything. Of course, you can still do that with like Western architectural drawings, and like you can just draw up lines, but I feel like it's easier to end up with unique kind of room shapes, which may or may not be good. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like open sourcing housing by everyone has the same kind of unit of measurement. So it's easier to like have a
Standardized.
similar,
Standardized.
that's the one.
Yeah.
I went for
I
the
think
IT.
yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. Thank you for giving me credit where it's not due. Uh, yeah. Just thinking about it, I've never built a house myself, but if I were to build a house, and if I was thinking about the kind of rooms I would want to have in the house, I would probably
Mm,
think from the perspective of what I would want to have in those rooms, right? So like how big a bed I want to fit in, or how big like a wardrobe or a desk or something. Whereas in your case, from what you're saying, you don't even need that. It's like by definition rectangular, right? So it's how wide and how long the rectangle is. That is
mm.
the
And then
question. Yeah.
how would you approach like what do you think the hardest part of like designing a house is? Like I was thinking about this for a while because I just went through the whole process, and if I had to tell myself something when I was just starting,
Mm.
like what am I about to embark on? Everyone said it's hard to build a house. It is hard, but what do you think is the hard part? I'm curious.
Oh, that is a good question. Well, I mean, there's so many different parameters, right? Like it can be a multi-story house, like what the focus of the house is, what is the central point? You know, for some people, it may be the kitchen or the living room. If it was up to me, I would probably start with like the focal point of the house, right? Like what I want to be in the center, where do I want the people living in cows to congregate.
That makes sense, right? It makes sense that like you would go to the specific problem that you would experience. Based on my kind of experience of doing this, I think the hardest part of building a house is basically the lack of experience that you have in building a
Oh,
house.
oh, I see, I see,
I
I
know,
see.
that's deep, right? It's
Right.
real
That
deep.
was I didn't realize it was a tricky question. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's not like there's a correct answer, but like I'll give you an example. Like, would you buy a car, without understanding the differences in all the different cars?
Hmm.
Normally, you can just sit behind a computer and just
Hmm.
quickly research, like, oh, what is
Yeah.
a engine? Like, how many cc's? Like, why do I need
Right.
this for that? What are
But that's
wheels?
because
Uh,
I know what kind of like engine I want, right? What I prioritize in the car.
Yeah, even if you didn't know what you want, you could easily just like look through it. Like the companies have already decided what is the right engine. But what if because it's like a engineering kind of thing, there's only one kind of way to push a car and it's forward, so you need an engine, and if the engine it needs to
Yeah.
have volume and power and like it's kind of straightforward. But like let's say somebody has a lot of experience building a house, like a house maker. They have a lot of experience, but they don't know who you are as a customer. So you have to you have to make the decisions on the design choices while not understanding what are good and bad design choices. So
True.
the
True.
the relationship between your kind of your personal desires and what is technically good decision making has to be bridged by this builder, basically.
Right, right. So I guess I would either expect like a more comprehensive experience where if I'm hiring a builder, they would tell me what options there are, like what I should focus on, and perhaps give me a demo of an existing house or show a catalog of some kind. Either that, or I would go to YouTube, find one of those channels, one of those channels with houses, and
One of these channels, huh?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
this is
one of
a
these channels, and go to the builder and say, I want that.
so that's what we did also. But the problem with that is something that works, like let's say in this setting, might not work in another setting. And without experience, you won't know until it's
Mm,
too late. So
right.
the builder's job, it's like such a fine line. They have to play the role of telling the customer that their idea is wrong, like it's just fundamentally a bad design, and then there are these kind of consequences, and they have to communicate that politely, while at the same time, the customer has to be open enough to like be able to let go of some of their decisions. Like, for example, if I was like, I need a tatami room, and that was the basis of my entire house design, then like maybe I would end up with a very strange layout or some strange
Mm,
design if the parameters were not like conducive.
yeah.
So understanding yourself is like the first thing. Like I feel like I went through an existential journey trying to understand the my needs inside the house that I'm building. And at
Mm.
the same time, the builders have to be able to advise, but also not push their own opinion. Because if you get like an architect who is like, oh, like you need to have, like for example, a really great example is when we first started building the house, or like, sorry, designing the house, we were looking into doing a one-story house. And one thing that I didn't consider about one-story houses is privacy. And in Japan,
Oh,
privacy
is a
is
big
really
thing.
important.
Yeah, it is a big thing in Japan, isn't it?
So the house builders, when they created the 3D proposal, it
Mm.
was the first time that I saw the windows from like a 3D perspective. From the top flat view, the windows look like, oh, there's a window here, there's a window there, it's all fine. But when you look at the 3D image, the windows were actually narrow and at the top of the wall in such a way that nobody could see in, but light would come in. So you would have privacy in the room.
Ah, uh-huh.
And then I thought like if I'm building a house
Those those
in
like
the
those like prolonged narrow windows, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've
exactly.
seen those.
So you can't see out and nobody can see in. You get the privacy, but then you're like, from my personal perspective, living in a prison.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that is how do you say, like a preference of the designer, that if they want privacy over, let's say, seeing outside and very, good lighting with a view, well then maybe you have to consider other factors, right? And
Mm.
that was something that I learned I learned through the process, that
Yeah,
privacy for me is not the most important.
that is very interesting. Yeah, I mean, that explains a lot actually. I'm just remembering seeing some videos on YouTube about interesting houses in Tokyo and other places in Japan, and there was one particular one from an Australian channel, by the way. I may or may not link it down below if I remember. But
Thanks.
but yeah, in the video, the guy who's an architect himself, he constructed this house that effectively had no outward facing windows, but instead a part of the roof would just fold in, right? So he effectively had like an atrium inside, like a backyard within the house itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of natural light, you can see the sky, but no one from the outside can actually see you.
Was it one of those designs where like there's a garden in the center? Or
Yeah, it's more like a backyard in the center, to be honest. So they had like
okay.
tables and whatnot, right? But if there's precipitation, you can kind of unfold the roof, and you're protected.
Mm. Oh, like now that I've gone through the process of building a house, like the first thing that comes to mind is like, unfolding the roof. That sounds like a mechanical failure that could happen easily if, over like 10 years.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of questions we had to like decide, and then a lot of research I had to do. For example, like, do you put solar on your roof or not? Is it good to have energy source that's not just, like electricity from the grid, but
Yeah.
also, on the other hand, solar is very hard to maintain, it's expensive, and it adds extra weight to the roof. In
Mm.
a country where you have earthquakes, it might not be the best place. You can't really put out a fire easily with solar panels on the roof because it could cause, I don't know, more of a fire or something like that. I remember that was a concern.
Oh.
So there's a lot of things that go into it, but overall, I have to say, like, I don't think this experience is for everybody. The building house part. I think you really need to want to live wherever it is that you want to live. It might sound obvious, but like finding land is tough. That's like a whole nother conversation. And then after that, you have to commit a lot of time to educate yourself on what you're basically building. I think in like Australia or the US, you can just, like, let's say you like built a house, you kind of messed around and you didn't like parts of it. You could just kind of maybe sell it at a higher cost and then buy another one, or you could build another one in the future again. I don't know, become some
Yeah.
kind of like house
As
builder.
long as you own the land here, as long as you own
Yeah.
the land, it will go up in price.
But in Japan, and especially out here, the land price is very low, so it doesn't make a
Mm.
lot of fiscal sense to invest. So this is kind of like, this house is built to our specification for our family's needs.
Mm.
It's a product. It's not
Right.
a financial asset, which is another concept that's very hard
Right.
to grasp, I
Right.
think.
So it's more like buying an iPhone that depreciates over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just that, but like it's also a very long-term kind of gamble. Like you have, like when you rent, you're paying premium for the price because renting is more expensive than buying in some cases, but then you can move
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah. Whereas
So
with a mortgage, it's not that easy, right?
it's less liquid in that sense, and then you really have to like commit to the area. And if you're building in an area, so if I've dedicated like, I don't know, 6 months or 1 year of my life to like making a house come to life, it's kind of hard to just
Yeah.
move, and I'm not going to build another house. I don't think so. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for a while at least.
I completely agree. You know what I find interesting? I'm kind of drawing a parallel between that and my experience selling a car in Japan. So for the context,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I moved back from Japan to Australia, and I did own a car in Japan. I bought a new car, and I owned it for about a year, and then I sold it, and I sold it back to the dealer who gave me actually the best price. So I shopped around on the market, and no one would offer me anything even close to the price they offered.
Well, how much was the car initially? Was it? Do you remember?
So I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say it was around 500 万, so 5 million yen.
Okay.
Yeah, and I sold it for around 3 million yen. The car was literally
After one
brand
year.
new. Yeah, literally brand new. Like there was 5,000 kilometers on the car, right? Like it was completely new, not even a scratch, and no one would even consider buying it. So uh, and just through my experience of trying to get rid of my stuff in Japan before I moved back to Australia, I realized that Japanese people don't really like secondary markets. They don't really like to buy used things. Why do you think that is? Like, apparently that applies to houses as well.
So I kind of, that's a really interesting topic because I literally just came off, I came from a store called Hard Off. Bear with me. It's a normal store where they have prices that are hard off, I guess. So a lot of people, when they get rid of things of like, I don't know, their extended family, or maybe they had a kid and they want to get rid of the baby stuff or whatever they want to get rid of, they sell to these used stores. And I wanted to buy an impact driver because I plan on doing stuff like DIY or whatever around the house
Mm,
once it's done. And I went there to look for used tools. My logic was like used tools should be better than new tools because I'm not going to use it every day. I'm not like a real like construction whatever person. I looked at the tools that they had there and I didn't have the confidence to buy it. It was just so banged up. On the other hand, for some reason, there was a baby Bjorn that was like in perfect condition
mm.
for 4,000 yen, which is originally like to 20,000 yen, which is like I think a third or a fourth of the price. And I bought that instead. So I went in to buy tools with the baby Bjorn. I think the used market is kind of a reflection of Japanese people. I think a lot of people take care of their things well, but even so, I think it's nice from their perspective to have something that nobody's ever touched. It's like
Yeah,
if it's clothes, they don't want someone else who's worn them. If it's
yeah.
a house, they don't want someone else who has lived
That would
there.
definitely pay a
Uh,
premium for anything new.
yeah, and I think for them, it's kind of like, well, if your car is like 5 million yen, I'll just buy a new car for 5 million yen. I wouldn't buy it like what is this like 500,000 discount wouldn't really give me much from their perspective, which is insane because I bought a car for 480,000 yen, which is a tenth of the cost of your car. 2013 Honda Fit, baby. It purrs.
Yeah,
It
let me
purrs.
guess. Let me guess. It's in perfect condition, right?
It's in really good condition.
Yeah,
What do I complain about? Like some of the outside plastic is lost its color. There's no scratches, no accidents, no dents, AC, tires, everything was kind of replaced.
yeah.
I even got the car dealer to install the rear camera because it was old enough that it didn't have a rear camera and it's just good to
Yeah,
have for reference.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That is really funny. Like I'm just remembering my experience of selling my car in Australia previously before I before moving to Japan, and it was a somewhat new car. It was 3 years old, I think. I had driven it a fair bit, and it had some minor dents on the bonnet from just the pebbles, right? And the guy inspecting the car, who was meticulous, by the way, he was just like, ah, yeah, that's normal wear and tear. So that is considered normal wear and tear, and it has some minor scratches all around. And like if you open the door, you can see where the shade of the paint doesn't align because that part was completely replaced. They effectively
Mm.
cut it out and replaced it after the accident. And he was like, "Yeah, that's normal. They
The
did it.
accident.
Yeah." So
After the accident.
that was an accident, right? And
That would already be a disqualifier.
I know, like I'm just thinking about that. I'm trying to apply that to Japan. I'm like, that would not fly at all. That car would be a complete write-off. And here
Mm.
in Australia, I got I would say 80% or maybe 85% of the original price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, in Japan, I think there's such a big car market. I mean, I guess because of Toyota, Honda, and the other
Yeah.
dealers, it's such a big market that maybe it's like a very low, I don't know, margin good for them or something. I
Yeah.
think same thing with the houses. People build a lot of houses, so I think the housing market is also very competitive for the construction and stuff like that. There's so many options as well. Like I chose to build the house out of wood in terms of the structure, but there's also like steel and concrete
Hmm.
and other types of framing frames or whatever. So I think it really just depends on how you want to live. Um, used cars and houses.
Yeah.
This is what.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So, coming back to your house experience, which is like honestly absolutely fascinating to me. What was the experience like of dealing with a Japanese builder? Like the only experience I have, just to set the baseline here, is dealing with a real estate company, renting an apartment, right? It was not a pleasant experience. I did not get rejected a lot, like my fellow expats, but I had to pay a fair amount in reikin.
Mm.
What do you
The
call it?
gift money,
The gift money.
like
Yeah,
key
yeah,
money, or thank you
exactly. Key
for
money. Yeah, yeah.
thank you money.
Yeah, thank you, money. It's like thank you for giving me the opportunity to apply for this apartment, right? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so like bureaucracy and all that, and not being able to speak Japanese perfectly, that wasn't really that great. What was the experience like for you?
Well, I think the big difference is the renting an apartment, it's like a middleman service. And though the house builder is also a middleman service, you're actually buying something from them. So if you're buying something that you can sell an unlimited amount of something for, I think the attitude is very different. Like they
Mm,
were very polite. Actually, maybe maybe too polite in some cases. We went to
mm,
the how do you say, there's like a house fair. There's like a place, a lot where there are like all these different housing companies that built a model house of the house they can build. And outside there's like ladies waving like, "Oh, come on in, check out our house." Like it's something else. It's like a little village, but only for like looking at house makers. And when you're there, everyone's trying to like upsell themselves against some
mm,
other thing. So it's a very different like experience up to the point of signing the contract. Then the politeness is of course still there because it's you're kind of like committed to working with them, and they can be a little bit relieved that that you've picked them out of all the other companies that they were considering. The sales guy has done his thing. Um, but it really just starts there. I thought
mm.
like, once you sign the contract, it's kind of done. But it was another couple months of design, like back and forth. I have like hours and hours and hours of ChatGPT translated Japanese messages. I mean, like, thank God ChatGPT was released around the time when I started this project, because without
I
it, I don't
know,
think Google would
I
have been
know, right?
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it like them sending you drafts of design, or how was the what was the interaction like?
So, first, after you make the appointment with any of these companies. You get assigned a representative. He's the sales guy. He's a sales guy, but more like a project manager. He's got like a kind of like a yeah, like a salesy project manager, I think is the
Mm.
closest thing I could use to describe them, because they are very knowledgeable in the product. Like they know certain dimensions that like from just top of their mind, they're like, ah, it's like this, which is like not, I think, normal for a normal person. And basically, once you meet with them, they figure out, do you already have land? Like they need to know your situation like any other salesperson does. Do you have you picked the land? Do you already have some idea in mind? And then they try to project what they can offer into kind of what you want. In the
Mm.
beginning, I think we were a little bit romantic. We're like, we're gonna build a house outside of Tokyo with like land that it's 10 times cheaper the price than Tokyo. So let's get like a really sick house.
And you didn't
And we
have
went for,
the land at the time, right?
we not only didn't have the land, but we also, yeah, we didn't have the land or an idea of which housemaker we liked. So it was really tough
Right.
because usually you kind of want to be prepared. But if you want, the housemaker can help you find the land. And they can look at the listings and make recommendations. Their job is to make sure that you go with them. And the more
Mm.
work they do for you, the more indebted you feel. And then
Mm.
it's hard to tell them no, unless you're me. Then I don't mind. So, where was it? The after it's not like after finding the land wasn't even something that we could find until like almost the end of the process. Like we were educating ourselves
Oh,
on what the housemakers could offer, but we were also comparing and checking all these different lands.
right.
And like that's a whole nother conversation. There was like 5 or 7 lands that we considered, and they were
Right.
all bad in some kind of case. But once you have the land, it's a little bit easier because then you only have so many things you can do with it. Then you have to decide, is it a 1-story house or two? Initially, we were looking at a 1-story house, but then, like I mentioned, the windows.
Yeah.
I wanted less privacy. I mean,
Yeah.
more privacy. So after that, we went with a 2-story house, and I'm really happy. It's the right call. You can see like around the house, there's like lots of good light as well, and it uses the land space well, and then it allows us to have some kind of garden or exterior, and then you go through the months of having back and forth discussions about the layout of the internal parts of the house, and then you want to pick the I mean, picking the curtains, it was like I thought we'd never get to the curtains. It was just so many small things you have to decide. And even so, you're going to make mistakes. And even when you make mistakes, they might make mistakes during construction. I thought there'd be zero mistakes because I saw how meticulous they were. But even with the meticulous nature of like the
Mm.
builders, there's still very, very small things that can go wrong, but
Yeah.
usually they're
I
fixable.
remember you mentioning something. Was that about the PowerPoints, or was it something else?
Um, like those are more like our mistakes. Like we chose outlets to be like you can pick like where to put the outlets, right?
Yeah.
And we just picked like a place that was maybe a little bit strange. Like we thought we put the desk there and then have the outlets on top.
Mm.
My big takeaway from that experience is just put all the outlets on the like bottom,
Mm.
normal height. Just don't get it too complicated, unless there's a very very specific reason. And mistakes that they made though, we went all the way to the end and we actually changed one of the internal like the walls. It's hard to explain, but there was like a door behind the wall or in the wall, and we actually moved the direction of the door so that we can put something attached to that wall. Because otherwise, you
Oh.
can't attach something to the wall if
Yep.
the sliding door is inside it. And somehow, the sink that was next to the wall shifted to the other side, and we only caught it by accident because we were like, it's weird that the towel hanging thing is not next to the sink. And then we were like, but
Oh,
I'm
wait
sure,
a
but we
second.
can't put it
Yeah.
there. Yeah, we can't put it there because if we put it there, it's going to be in the wall. I'm like, we moved it for a reason. Why is the sink here? And then we looked at the historical data of all the different changes, and then nowhere was the sink on
Yep.
that side. I think it was just a standard, like preset of what the sink is, and then nobody caught it except the construction lady, the lady in charge of
Mm.
the project, and also us, I guess.
Yeah, and I imagine like once they've realized that they had made a mistake, they apologized profusely, right? Whereas in would that have happened in Australia, you probably would have go through would have had to go through like a legal battle with the builder.
Hmm. Like, well, I wouldn't know about Australia, but I think in Japan, they want to avoid all conflict. They have meticulous notes. Like, every time we have a meeting, they
Uh,
write down what we said and we sign that paper. We're like, we agree to these notes in the meeting.
in
And
blood?
well, I mean, they could have picked the red marker sometimes, but yeah. So when the notes were made, I think we can just track the changes, and then it's like, oh, like clearly it was wrong, it was made a mistake,
Yeah.
and it was also an early catch, so there's no long-term repercussions from that. So those are mistakes that are good. The bad mistakes are we picked doors for like the laundry room, which is connected to the bath, and there's no lock on the laundry room door because we just like blanked and we're like, whatever, it's a laundry room, who needs it, I guess. But actually, it's the laundry room slash change your clothes before getting into the
Oh,
bathroom,
yeah,
and
it's one
without a
of those.
lock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after the fact costs a lot more to change, but it's still something fixable. So there was no like massive issue, and the house isn't built yet, so fingers crossed, but hopefully there won't be any like surprise issues. And later I can show you
Yeah, we
show you
can
what we're dealing with.
we can definitely come back to this topic again, and we will. How long does it take to build a house overall?
Um I don't fully remember the schedule, but we started somewhere in the middle of last year. Yeah, it was summer last year in 2024 when we started looking at the land because I remember it was really hot when we walked
Yeah.
between the lands. And one of the lands was like on the cliff, or like not a cliff, slightly like elevated. And
Yeah.
when walking there, it took like 20 or 30 minutes. And I was like, I can't walk
Shit.
to this place. I can't live here. Like, so,
Yeah, yeah, right, right. Because you mentioned that you had not purchased the land
hmm.
by then, right? So that was kind of going on in parallel.
Yeah. And in Tokyo, land and housing goes away really fast. Like
Mm,
it might be gone before it even hits the market sometimes, and that's why you just don't get any
mm,
listings unless it's like undesirable land. But here, land lasts a while because there's less consumption. So we were kind of lucky that we had time to kind of go and find it. But after finding it, I mean, if we had everything ready and we picked the person, like if we knew what design we wanted right away, it would have been much faster, but that took us probably at least 2 months. And then after that, I think we were really fast actually. I think we were able to agree to a design within 1 or 1.5 months because we just kind of really knew what we wanted. And then there was only so many adjustments we could make, like from the frame of the design that we picked. And then after
mm.
that, I think the construction started in February, and now it is June and it's going to finish in July. So it's pretty fast work, I think. The the concrete took less than a month, and then they've put up the wood frame, and like the wooden frame went up in like 3 days or something like that.
Wow,
Yeah, they were really fast. And
that's
then I think it
crazy.
takes like, right? A big team worked on that. There was like 14 or 19 people that came just for that one day to put it all together. And then ever since then, it's just been one guy, one carpenter, doing all the stuff. And then occasionally an electrician comes, or, the AC guy puts in the piping and whatever. So, what was it? And then, yeah, I guess the handover day will be July. And then I think I'll have more to show you.
Do you think this is a good point to wrap up the
Do we have a
conversation?
weird outro sound? Do we like,
Woo!
like, yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop the audio.